That's big.
So
That's
my
big.
bucket
Big
list.
down there. Okay. Start with the book.
Yeah, chase the fans way earlier.
Okay.
Chase the people
Gary
early.
Gary started reading when he got here,
Yeah,
so
did not read the chapter well ahead of time. It'll be
uh,
obvious. I won't say too much.
we're
I won't
going
say
through
anything.
Gentle and Lowly, the heart of Christ for sinners and sufferers, one chapter a week. We're in chapter 15 of 23. Just a reminder why we picked this book, why I wanted to read it, is because I think it's so important to have a right theology of who God is. We think God is the boogeyman or something that he's not. We're not going to go to him. Anyway, this chapter is about his natural work and his strange work. He does not, and from Lamentations 3, verse 33, he does not afflict from his heart. And it goes and back into the Old Testament, talking about who God is. I think generally I hear a lot of perception that I've had myself, and also other people have, that in the Old Testament, God is a big, mean God. And in the New Testament, he's, kind and forgiving. But that's definitely not the case. And it goes through a bunch of different examples. Um, and just talks about the heart of God, and also just, I think, practically just the different things that happened in the Old Testament. You think of just Israel and how they kept running away from him, and he kept being merciful to them and calling them back over and over and over again. What do you think of the chapter?
That was pretty deep, pretty heavy. It wasn't one that you could really just quickly cruise through on short notice and probably be able to give a good commentary on. But yeah, I think I concur what you said. He gives a specific example from Hosea, kind of about, and I can't read all the names in there properly, pronounce them right, but just the idea of like, yeah, and I mean, we're all Israelites, right?
Yeah.
Is very interesting. I mean, I think we were taught that really well as kids, but you would read the Bible and read stories of people in the Old Testament. And as a kid, I guess I just didn't have the perspective of enough self-awareness, or maybe just how dumb and stupid I was. But like, yeah, in hindsight, like worse than the Israelites I am. But
Mm.
like just the idea of like, hey, uh, God, God was very, very gracious, right?
Yeah.
And still gave them a lot of blessings and
Yeah.
stuff
I mean,
despite
what
the
really struck me is that they leave Egypt, right, and they get stuck in front of the Red Sea. They cry out to God. The ocean opens up. They walk through. They see Pharaoh and his whole army just get like drowned. And they have a big party. They dance, it says, and rejoice. 3 days later, they go to Mara,
and
and
they're whining.
their water isn't good. It's bitter, and they're just whining. Like 3 days after they got saved, and I mean that's
Most
the
of us doesn't take that long.
yeah,
Doesn't take 3 days.
exactly, yeah,
That was the gist of where I was going with
yeah.
that, right? Where it's
So some things that stuck out to me was, it says here, God is unswervingly just, like he's a just God. But what is his disposition? What is he on the edge of his seat eager to do? If you catch me off guard, you will what will leap out of me before I have time to regain composure, it will likely be grouchiness. But if you catch God off guard, what leaps out most freely is blessing, the impulse to do good, the desire to swallow us up in joy. That is why Goodwin says of God that is of all of his attributes seem to set out of his love. And he gives some quotes from the Old Testament of like, when Israel was a child, I loved him. It was I who taught Ephraim to walk. I took them up in their arms. I led them with cords of kindness, with the bands of love, and I bent down to feed them. And then it also says, my people are bent on turning away from me. And what is God's response? In Hosea 11, verse 8 and 9. How can I give up, O Ephraim? How can I hand you over, O Israel? My heart recoils within me. My compassion grows warm and tender. I will not execute my burning anger. I will not again destroy Ephraim, for I am a God. I am God and not a man. The Holy One is in our midst, and I will not come in wrath. And yeah, I think it just goes against our idea of who God is. And I don't think it means that he is not a just God and has wrath, because it talks about the sermons from Jonathan Edwards, Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, and sermons from Thomas Goodwin, the justice of God is the damnation of sinners. But those two guys, like talked a lot about the Bible and preached on it. And still often emphasize he delights in mercy, but his judgment is a strange work, which is from the title of this chapter. What is most strange to him is his judgment, and what he delights in most is his mercy. He doesn't delight in his wrath or his justice. He delights in his mercy. And I think that's the heart of God. I think it's amazing. I think that's what, when we see our own sin and see the brokenness in this world, that we can still have our beliefs drive our actions. When we really believe that, we will have the action of going to him. And then, so the end of the chapter basically summarizes that, and it says, left to our own natural intuitions about God, we will conclude that mercy is his strange work and judgment is his natural work. Rewiring our vision of God as we study the scripture, we see, helped by the great teachers of the past, that judgment is his strange work and mercy is his natural work. He does not afflict and grieve children of men, but not from his heart. He does afflict and grieve children of men, not from his heart. And it also goes and reflects, I think, the New Testament verse that says he disciplines those he loves. Right? That's pulls them to him. How is your view of God been shaped, and like how do you still view God now? Has this book had an effect on you and your willingness to go to him when you see your own sin? And
I think so. I think the text that probably has been the most comforting to me, and I mean, I searched it here briefly, and it's the verse, and it's over and over actually in the book of Psalms alone. The Lord is tender and kind. He is gracious. He is slow to get angry. He is full of love. Psalm 103:8. Psalm 86:15. But Lord, you are a God who is tender and kind. You are gracious. You are slow to get angry. Right. And I think that probably the other thing it says in here is that, God doesn't have parts, right? And I think that's where we as humans we have such limited ability to understand things. And so very quickly, it'll be our limited understanding. We'll put God in a box, right? Yeah. And then we'll make that the truth rather than just realize that the mystery of who God is pretty powerful, right? I thought that he talks a little bit about God's sovereignty and the beauty of utter divine sovereignty over all things, good and bad, the stub toe, the poison ivy, the backstabbing friend, the chronic neck pain, the vomiting at 2 a.m., the wayward child, right? All these things. And then he quotes the Belgic Confession of Faith, Article 13, right? This doctrine gives us unspeakable comfort since it teaches us that nothing can happen to us by chance, but only by the arrangement of our gracious Heavenly Father, who watches over us with fatherly care, sustaining all creatures under his lordship, so that not one of the hairs of our heads, for they are all numbered, which, I mean, most of us don't live that way and we don't act that way, but that's how much God cares. Not even a little bird can fall to the ground without the will of our Father, it says, right? And I think, I guess I feel like I believe that, and I would pray that I would have faith in that. But I do think of people friends of mine that have lost kids, or people that have children that are, and that's the most extreme, one of the most extreme examples, but just awful things happen to people, right? You think, man, people do question that, right? And I think God can handle us questioning and wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Faith is not even great. Men of great faith and women of great faith have pled with the Lord, right, for clarity on things. And so, I feel like that's the state I'm in sometimes. Man, that is tough, right? But he can handle it, and I think that's what we're called to do, is just to cry out to him, right? So
and trust the fact that we're not God, right? We don't understand. If we try to understand,
and we shouldn't understand everything. That's what I always tell people, especially with bad things. And people are always like, "Oh, I can't understand how they did that," or "I can't understand why that would happen." Well, you're not supposed to. If something's really awful, you just shouldn't get it. Yeah. There's a lot of things that just don't make sense, and they're a mystery, and they always will be as while we're on this earth, right? So, anyways.
And it's also a push against our depravity and how bad sin is, right? We try to always minimize the fact that we're, not that corrupt. I actually heard a quote today that said, how it says power corrupts or money corrupts, and this person said, no, it's not that power and money corrupt. It's that power and money reveal our corruption. It was there all along, but this reveals
they just show it.
This lets it come out, and I thought that was a wise comment, which makes sense. Hey guys, if you enjoyed that episode and were blessed by it, would you be willing to support the show? That would help a lot in creating more content, improving the quality of the content, putting the production value, getting more guests on, and me being able to spend more time and energy towards it. So if you're interested in doing that, you can click up here and it'll take you to a support page. But you can also subscribe to the podcast by clicking over here and doing that. Thanks again for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one.